Welcome again to another Nerdy Media podcast. This is episode 3. My name is Edward. I'm the owner of Nerdy Media Inc. We're based here in Los Angeles, California, and we work in the areas of payment processing, online marketing, and also application web development. Today, in this podcast, we're going to talk about content monetization, right? So the last podcast I talked about payment processing and things like that. But today I want to talk about content monetization. Now, I want to start with the various areas of content monetization. What is content monetization? That means making money off of your content. Now, making money off of your content is not just linear, right? It's not just one way where you just hand over your content, you get cash back from it, right? Sometimes content monetization can be various ways. And the one thing that we focus on here at Nerdy Media is we build a lot of web applications. We also license out our application for content monetization. Basically, we have a subscription application that we work with content makers to help them monetize their content. We've built things from, like I said, our content script. We've also, for other companies, we've built fan platforms. Nowadays fan platforms are huge. And with these platforms, you can monetize content from various creators all on one platform. I kind of consider it like a buffet, right? You may have a subscription site that's kind of focused on a certain niche, a certain area, things like that. But the fan platform is kind of focused on various things. And, a lot of times within the algorithm, they will, feature certain performers, certain people, comedians, whoever. And, the logic behind it gets really good. But on the content monetization side, it's not just about that. You can also, make money off your content by selling ads on your site. You don't always have to make the content paid. And then there's also the licensing side of content monetization. People are still making money off content that was, made, 4 decades ago, right? We know this through syndication. You watch your favorite television show, whether it's Friends. Mine's is The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And you see these shows syndicated on various sites. One network that was new to me that popped up not too long ago was Dabble, right? And they have a lot of syndicated like content on there. And when you're growing up and you're watching that content, you go back to it and you love to watch it again and just relive that past, whether it was your childhood, middle age or what have you. But sites like that, channels like that, they monetize the content through advertisement. And with people like me watching those sites, because we love to watch that old content is still generating money, right? The actors that are in those shows, they get a royalty check. The producers continue to generate money off those shows every time they license it to another channel. And basically that can happen the same way online as well. You kind of see that through the streaming sites. When you see a movie on Hulu, right? It may be on Hulu for like 2 or 3 months. Then next thing you know, you see it on HBO Max, or you may see it on Netflix or Prime Video. That is licensing. And that's another way to make money off of your content long term. And people say content is king, and it's true, right? Because content, being unique, will generate, SEO traffic for a long time. People are searching for that type of stuff. When something pops up in your memory, you may remember something, a part of a show. You may want to just go back and see who that actor is that played Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then once you search it, those terms, they start to rank. That content comes up. It tells you where to find the show, and then you can start to uh, go and watch the episode. So content is very important, and that's the reason that we like to work with a lot of content creators. Um, it's very important for our business, and we know how to navigate the area to help them monetize that content. Now, monetizing content, like I said, I gave you multiple examples of monetizing content, but those multiple examples can also work back to back. For instance, one content creator we worked with, right? They sell the content in the beginning of the site. Someone comes to the site, they purchase a subscription, and they make money off of that. Now, one thing that they do, and we help them do, is monetize the content multiple ways. One way is, sometimes we call them freeloaders. It's people that come to a site and basically they're just looking around. They're not really interested in buying anything on the site, may not be interested in it. So a lot of times what we'll do, we can track that customer through the site with our script, and it's just an automation process, but we will then redirect them to another site that may have different content. Now that person has a chance to subscribe to that other piece of content. Maybe they was looking for that. So that's another way of monetizing. And then also within that same site, even when someone subscribes, they're watching the content. Once they're done watching the content and they're ready to log out, a lot of times we'll show them an upsell, maybe to a product on that site, or we will show them an upsell to another site that owner owns as well. And that's ways to just increase your revenue. That is really good. So let's say you're selling a subscription on that site for $7, and you have another site for $7. If they upsell to that next site, you just made $14. You double your revenue. And that's why content is so important, because that will live for a long time. And when it comes to just licensing content, sometimes people don't make content, they just license it, and they generate, a lot of money as well. Sometimes turning old content into gold is very simple, because that content has been around for a long time, is resonated. Licensing a lot of times will be the way that some people will want to go to, just make some revenue off content. So like I said, content is king. When it comes to king, the part of the content that is king to me is the SEO factor. I've taken old content, we've built sites. A lot of times when we're building scripts, we're focused on the SEO side. We're making sure that everything on the site on page is SEO friendly, that it can be indexed in Google and things like that. So when the producer or their team is putting in that content, they're tagging the keywords, they're tagging the actors that's in the site, the URL structure, the description. The description is so very important right now. How many words, we give them a recommendation of how many words to put in that description to make sure that content ranks. And we go through that, and basically we make it where Google can find that particular piece of content, even though it may be one particular piece of content in a whole vast array of content that is on the site. And that's really good for us, and that's really good for our clients. Like I said, we've been in the subscription area for about 10 years now. So, and we have grown that tremendously. And that's why we've moved on to the payment processing side, where we help them monetize it by integrating our payment processing. Um, but like I said, when let me just give you a little story about content. When I graduated from college, I was living in San Francisco. I made my way down to LA to actually get into movies. I thought, I don't know, I thought I was gonna be the next Denzel Washington. I was in a lot of indie films, whether it was a speaking role or background actor and things like that. Even though my degree, when I was in San Francisco, was in marketing. And then for a little while, I actually got a marketing position at 20th Century Fox. Now, when I was working at the Fox Studios, at the time, this is a long time ago, DVDs were still around. Some of you guys, if you're watching this, you may be like, what is a DVD? Well, DVD, you had to have a DVD player. You stuck the DVD in there and watched it. Now, just know at a movie studio, there's multiple marketing departments. So I was in the global home entertainment partnership department. What does that mean? So we would partner with other brands, let's say like Coke. Back in the day, you would see a Coke can that says like, "Hey, get $5 off your DVD." And that was our department. We would partner with them. Sometimes they would run promotional campaigns on TV, digital, and things like that, especially if it was a big studio movie, because that brand wanted to be associated with it. And at the time, it was the beginning of the on streaming. Before I left the company, was introduced to the development department, the head of the streaming department at Fox, and they kind of went over like how they was working on it. We had a partnership with Paramount at the time, and it was various ways of developing streaming. And so at the time, they was kind of figuring out. Now today, flashback to 2025, Fox is under the Disney brand. Disney came in and bought Fox. Now, why would Disney pay so much, you would probably ask, for Fox? Well, because they know in the long term they will make money off of that content. Now, I won't go into it today, but I got asked on one of the TikTok channels to talk about MRR. The revenue. It's a calculation that you can do to project your revenue, your profits on some of these subscriptions. So I will talk about that in more detail in another episode and kind of give you the calculation. I may even make an Excel sheet to help you guys kind of calculate that. But a lot of times I see the people that we work with, sometimes they don't have an understanding that, hey, when you get a person in this month, that customer value over time, sometimes, basically in a basic subscription setup will, stay the same for, let's say, a year if they subscribe for years or years. And then also the upsell once you get your other products going. So a lot of times when people want to start a business, start with the subscription. That's just my recommendation. Well, one, start with the content, then add in the subscription, and then the other side of monetization is a product. The one thing that you will see from a lot of celebrities, they have products, right? They don't own these products, they don't manufacture these products, but they do sell these products. And when you have that content and you have a brand that want to be associated with that product, whether it's your brand or outside brand, that product will sell. And it's very important to set yourself up when you're producing this content to know what you're going to sell on the back end. So when you're doing that, be aware of the other aspects of monetizing through content, what you're going to sell on the back end. For instance, if you're going to sell, shoes or socks or something like that, in your content, you want to maybe have, just things about feet, right? You know, let me give you an example. You may have a guy that just has no shoes in the show, and they're just the running joke of the show. Um, and later on, he may get some shoes, and that shoe brand that he's wearing is a shoe brand that you may be selling. It may be your brand or an outside brand, like I said. But you want to set that up that way because that in turn conditions the customer to buy that product. And that's how powerful content is. It will condition you to purchase things that you probably wouldn't have purchased in the past because you love it so much. It was the running joke. Now you could be the joke at the office, because, they watch the same show and things like that. So the human connection to content is very, very, very strong. Um, but having a product is very important. The one thing that we offer on our script, just out of the box, is a merch tab. And that merch tab can basically be combined with multiple products. A lot of times, the content creators that we work with, they work with various companies. And based on the setup for that company, we build in a online store for them. And basically what that is, it takes in the API from, whatever product. If they're using, like, let's say Shopify, they're selling the product on Shopify, we can use like that API integrated into the site. The Shopify store would pop up on the site, and then the user can make a purchase through that Shopify store. It's pretty cool. And we love it for our content creators because it generates an extra stream of revenue that helps them in the long term be successful and continue to make content, right? You have to take that money sometimes, reinvest it. Yeah, you take that money, you have to pay bills, you have to pay the overhead costs, but then you may want to reinvest it into content to grow whatever you're doing. For instance, the reason I started this podcast is like, well, I need to put content out there about what we do. And that was important to me. I was a little scared. I was like, hey, I may need this to look, I want this to look big. I want people to know that, we can do big things. But when I started to check out a lot of the content, when you start to look at the older pieces of content, when it comes down to the end or years later, the content looks totally different from where it starts. Let's go back to the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, right? The first episode is in like SD every time I watch it. It's all those black lines. But when you see like some of the final episodes, they're very high quality. So when I talk to content creators and I say, a lot of times they sometimes get in their head, they're like, well, it's not what I want it to look like. These guys over here, they produce, tons of content and it looks so amazing. And I'm just like, just produce some content and just go with it. Because the one thing that you got to know, even though that content at the beginning may not be that great, it's still going to generate people that come to your site. And then when they start to watch the content that you're able to pay for, that you're able to produce that is better, it's all going to work itself out. So if you're in the content space, this is my recommendation to you. Get a camera, get a piece of audio recording equipment, because it's not just videos, it's also sound. And get started on just making your content, no matter what it is. It could just be you in front of a screen just talking, or it could be you playing the banjo, or the ukulele, right? My middle daughter is playing the ukulele right now, and it's very funny. But I don't know if that's going to be her instrument of choice in the future. But I told her one day, I said, you should just get in front of the camera and just start playing that thing. You may look back and be embarrassed about it, but you made content and it will live on for a long time. Even my content, maybe it'll live on for a long time. Right here, right now, I want to let you know, I give my kids all the rights to use my face and voice whether it's AI generated and I'm no longer here. So content is gonna live on forever, and especially when we're talking about AI, um, it's gonna be important to start to use that content in the future. You may see a lot of content in the future where it's just all done through AI. Actors that are long gone past are probably going to be still generating content in the future, and their family is still going to be able to earn revenue off of their relative because of their, uniqueness of their voice. Like James Earl Jones, right? He just passed maybe some months ago. I could be wrong. I probably have to look that up. But he licensed his voice out. And if you know anything about that, uh, he's Mufasa in The Lion King. Well, he's also voices in a lot of other shows as well. Also, he's the voice of Darth Vader, which is um, Star Wars on that Disney owns now. So his family will be able to make a lot of money off of his voice over time. And I think you should look at content as an investment, right? Um, sometimes you have to invest in yourself and in your product, but it is an investment that can pay off long term, years down the road. Now, like I said, there's a lot of things that we can get into about content monetization, but those are the basic things. Like I said, monetizing your content through subscriptions, also PPV, but I like subscriptions first. Monetizing your content through ads, and also just monetizing your content through upsells of products, other sites, and things like that. So, if you ever have any questions about content monetization, feel free to shoot me an email. We answer our info at nerdymedia.net. Um, email address. So if you ever have any questions, we would love to hear anything. And also too, if you're watching our, if you watch our TikTok channel, if TikTok is still going to be around, hopefully the government doesn't shut it down, or our YouTube, Twitter, what have you, Reddit, any means, feel free to post things that you like me to talk about, because sometimes, when I'm up here yapping, I don't make notes. So there's a lot of things that I could talk about when it comes to content monetization that I will talk about in the future. Because when I go back and watch this podcast, I will make notes and say, okay, hey, I actually need to talk about this part. But yeah, I would love, if you're interested in content monetization, talk to us. Also, we can send you a demo of our script. And that way you can just check it out, see if you like it, see what you need added to the script. Because, it's kind of, it's pretty much can be the base for you to add in a lot of features into your site and grow your site. And like I said, we also deal with the payment processing side of the things as well. Now, one of these podcasts, I will talk about pricing of content as well. But I know I won't talk about that in here because, I usually try to keep this around, 25 to 30 minutes. But pricing of content is very important in getting sales. Sometimes I see people pricing the content a little too high for what they're offering, and then I see people pricing the content too low and not maximizing what they could make off of their content. And I know a lot of people have trouble with pricing and knowing the value of what something is worth. But pricing, is very complicated. It's one of those things where it's not just that straightforward, because there's also the promotional side of content where, you can do a lot of things. But like I said, we'll talk about that in another episode. My name again is Edward. I'm with Nerdy Media Inc. We're based here in Los Angeles, California, and we deal in web development, online digital marketing, and payment processing. So if you ever need help, feel free to reach out to me. And I hope you like and subscribe to our podcast, because that's very important. Liking and subscribing to our podcast helps us grow our channel. It helps with us, reach the higher echelon of the algorithm of these various platforms that we're on. So, and also if you're on our TikTok, our Facebook, or our Reddit, please follow us. That will help as well. And we'll try to respond to everybody that comment in the comment section. So again, my name is Edward. I'm with Nerdy Media Inc. You can find us at nerdymedia.net if you're looking to reach out to us. Thank you again. Have a good day.